at the prospect over making money from that transition if he was serving as some sort of Russian agent. I mean, one after another, everything he's doing is undermining Russia, except when it is trying to take advantage of basically Russian resources to get money for Western clients.
There's another, this is the classic accusation that he was Mossad. I think what you've already described suggests that you don't think that's the case, and you kind of made it clear that you sort of see him as this kind of working with agencies across the world rather than for them. But it still continues the idea that he's an Israeli agent, partly because there's been what looks like AI images of Epstein in Israel put out deliberately under sort of new rumors that he wasn't actually killed. I'd like to come back to his death actually. But there's also an email saying he hates Israel. I just wondered what we learned new about his relationship, other than what you've described there, about the possibility that he's actually an Israeli agent rather than an independent sort of go-between between agencies.
What?
Is that for me? Wow.
Turn your dreams into reality.
Wow.
With financial guidance from New York Life, more powerful together.
From cups to espresso machines, get everything you need without the stress. That's the Websterot way.
Astroguide, created by a rocket scientist for out-of-this-world encounters. Explore more.
Welcome to Sunday. Let's rock. So America, stop your engines! Tell me more about this one-on-one router. You guys untraceable.
Mystery man.
Someone doesn't feel right. I'm getting close. I know it.
Crime 101, radar, only Peter's Friday.
Well, the clears with this, the clears ties with Israeli intelligence, in my view, go much more to the Amman side, the military intelligence, than to the Mossad one. As I mentioned, Jeffrey Epstein was handling Adnan Khashoggi's money in the mid-1980s, and Khashoggi was the middleman between U.S. and Israeli intelligence for a military operation. Who was the head of Israeli military intelligence at that time? It was Ehud Barak, who would go on to be the prime minister that Mossad serves. Mossad sits in the prime minister's office. They answer directly to the prime minister in the chain of command. And then he would go on to be the defense minister, the head of their military. And then Jeffrey Epstein would go on to do private deals with him in everywhere from Mongolia to Cote d'Ivoire to Russia to the U.S., and on and on. But the fact is I think that Jeffrey Epstein swam in the quasi-intelligence Israel affinity network since the 1970s, and it's in my view the Israeli intelligence angle is whether it's with or for, it's kind of a distinction without a difference. Same on the CIA side. What you have is a kind of Cyanine type relationship where it's not formally with Amman or Mossad, but it is an affinity network in a diaspora group, and I think that that means it's likely that he's not a double agent, so to speak. So I suppose it is meaningful in that sense. I don't think that there's any way to read the tea leaves where he was solely and exclusively doing this, for Israel his whole career. But I do think that. And I think it's the same thing with the CIA. Remember, parties rotate power. It looked like, for example, there's a big power rivalry between Ehud Barak and Benjamin Netanyahu, and there's an email that says, against all odds, we have managed to secure a meeting with Netanyahu. This is in the, I believe, early 2010s or something to that effect. And then there is a redacted photo of them appearing to meet one time, But you compare that to, 47 trips by Abu Barak to Epstein's personal residence, 60 business deals that they appear to have been partnered with or coordinating on, constant access while he's in government and out of government to a single meeting they didn't even think that they could get with no follow-up. You could very easily see Epstein rotating to other networks when the in-power government in Israel is hostile to his affinity network there. And same thing with the CIA. I think that, for example, Epstein's relationship with intelligence, was heterogeneous throughout his career. It looked to be very prominent in the 1980s. It's unclear in the 1990s. He went to the White House 17 times. He FOIA'd the CIA in the 1990s about that. He got a State Department lease. The U.S. State Department was his personal landlord. It rented him a property of $15,000 a month in 1990s money, one of the largest residences in New York City, after it seized it from the government of Iran. And then Jeffrey Epstein only got in trouble not paying that lease at all when he subleased it out to the criminal defense lawyer for both the Pizza Connection and French Connection drug ring cases, both of which are alleged to have very significant CIA involvement. So you've got this relationship that just goes decades. And in my view, what needs to be done in the U.S. is we need to have the classified layer of this iceberg. It is impossible, in my view, for there not to be CIA files on this man. He himself even asked for them.
Which would be separate from the 3 million. This would be a whole other tranche. Yeah.
Yes, the 3 million have only been for DOJ, Justice Department originated documents, which includes the FBI, because they're the Justice Department's investigative arm. No state, we know, for example, there are State Department files on Jeffrey Epstein because the State Department was Jeffrey Epstein's landlord. The State Department brought a lawsuit against him after 5 years of this arrangement when Jeffrey Epstein had not even been paying. So U.S. taxpayers were paying effectively for Jeffrey Epstein's rent, or being, and so there's going to be lots of inside chatter at the State Department running a background check on him.
Wait, so how are the American taxpayers, how were they paying for his rent?
I'm sorry, they were eating it. That was money owed to the U.S. taxpayers, and Jeffrey Epstein was not paying his lease, his $15,000 a month lease,
right,
to the State Department. This was a government-owned building seized from Iran, and so it gets back to this Iran-Contra soup that Epstein. But the fact is we don't know if the reason it was given to Jeffrey Epstein was because Epstein had all of these contacts, and when people come to the UN General Assembly or they come to New York, Jeffrey Epstein was running contacts for the agency, and the CIA leaned on the State Department to rent it out to him, or to delay enforcement, or to not make it a criminal charge or any investigation into the shady defense lawyer that he leased it out to. We don't know if there was a conflict between CIA and state around how to handle that Epstein hot potato. A records disclosure bill that compelled disclosure of State Department and CIA documents would answer that question.
So, and it's tied into this, or perhaps, you just described there that there's still more CIA documents. It seems to me that there will never be an end of conspiracy theories around Epstein, because there will always be more that people think hasn't been released. So at the moment, of course, we're waiting for the other half of the 6 million tranche. Even if that's released, there's going to be so much redacted, as we've seen in the previous 3 million. People will be like, well, release the unredacted versions. And it seems to me that whatever happens, there will just remain this idea that there's something hidden about him. I want, right?
I don't mean to object, but if the insinuation is, the people will never be happy. This was crowbarred out of the U.S. government. Think of how helpful it would have been, Winston, to have these files in 2019 when there was the scandal of Jeffrey Epstein's suicide or non-suicide. We only learned in these files that it appears that an inmate or a jail worker, one of the two, the FBI thought it was an inmate walking up to Jeffrey Epstein's floor at about 10 o'clock at night the night he was killed, or we don't know, we don't have a time of death for Jeffrey Epstein. He was found dead at about 6 a.m. the next morning.
This is a new this is a new revelation.
Right. All of this is, the American people are damn interested in this because this affects our damn politics. The fact is this gets the highest level of government power. The questions that it invokes get to very serious potential high-level government cover-ups around the intelligence agency, cover-ups around the compromise of the elected officials who represent the people's interests. And the fact is that it took a bill sponsored by Thomas Massey, which cost him potentially his career. He is being primaried right now, in large part because of this, with millions of dollars in hit pieces to go after him. Now, nobody wanted to be on the other side of this bill, Winston. The Epstein Disclosure Act passed 427-1 in the House and 99-0 in the Senate. Nobody wanted to be on the other side of this bill. But for 7 years, nobody had the gumption, nobody had the courage to bring that bill because they knew what it would cost them. When the American people see that, they go, that ain't right. We want to know everything. The fact is, if a file exists, if a document exists, at this point, we have a right to know it, we have a right to see it, and anyone who says that we don't have a right to see it, I think there's a very natural impulse to say, if you don't want us to have access to a government document that we paid for people to collect and put down in a file, then it's not a good look, because if you want to hide it, you should be championing this too. If you want answers to this, if you want the conspiracy theories to end, then there should be no ongoing conspiracy about hiding documents from us.
Right. Well, I mean, I was just making the point though that even if they released everything unredacted, it feels like an issue that will never be slaked. People always want more, because just looking into it, this new tranche opens up 100,000 new storylines. But just to push you on, if I may, to stress test your convictions there on publishing everything.
California Naturals. Clean, naturally derived hair and body essentials that actually work. No junk, just the good stuff. With clean ingredients you can trust. Created by our founder to make the best performing, most natural versions of your daily essentials. It's all good.
Frankly, in the 27 plus years I've been with OLA, I've never seen this before.
I was shocked to hear this information in the exit conference, and it is absolutely unacceptable that any staff would provide anything other than accurate representation of the work done to an auditor.
Now, there were a lot of questions from lawmakers about whether this audit should result in criminal investigations. So we'll see what comes from that. The Office of the Legislative Auditor provides recommendations both to the department and to lawmakers in case law changes are needed. Just one more time of what the auditor said regarding.
It's amazing that it's like a question whether or not somebody will be